All right, let's dive into the epic story of Moses, one of the most legendary figures from the Bible. Moses' journey begins in ancient Egypt at a time when the Israelites were enslaved under Pharaoh. Pharaoh, scared of the growing Hebrew population, ordered all newborn Hebrew boys to be killed. But Moses' mother, desperate to save him, placed him in a basket and set him afloat on the Nile River. Pharaoh's own daughter found the baby, took pity, and raised him as her son right in the royal palace. Now fast forward to adulthood. Moses knew he was Hebrew, and one day he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. In a moment of anger, Moses killed the Egyptian and, fearing for his life, fled into the desert. He ended up in Midian, became a shepherd, and even got married. But Moses' story was just getting started. One day, while tending sheep, he saw a bush on fire, but it wasn't burning up. God spoke to him from that bush, telling him to go back to Egypt and set the Israelites free. Moses was hesitant. He didn't feel brave or eloquent. God insisted. Aaron joined as his spokesperson. Back in Egypt, Moses demanded Pharaoh to let my people go. Of course, Pharaoh refused, so cue the 10 plagues. Water turning to blood, frogs everywhere, gnats, flies, livestock, dying boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the death of the firstborn. After that last plague, Pharaoh finally let the Israelites go. But wait, he changed his mind and chased after them with his army. Here's the epic moment. The Israelites, trapped at the Red Sea, saw the Egyptian army closing in. Moses stretched out his staff and the sea split in two, letting the Israelites escape on dry ground. When the Egyptians followed, the waters crashed back and wiped them out. Once free, Moses led the Israelites through the wilderness. At Mount Sinai, he received the 10 Commandments, those famous stone tablets with the core laws for his people. But the journey wasn't smooth. The Israelites complained, doubted, and even built a golden calf to worship. Moses pleaded with God to forgive them. He became their leader, their lawgiver, and their connection to the divine. Moses guided the Israelites for 40 years, but because of one big mistake, striking a rock instead of speaking to it as God commanded, he wasn't allowed to enter the promised land. At the end of his life, Moses climbed Mount Nebo, looked out over the land promised to his people, and died there, leaving behind a legacy that shaped history. So, from river basket to burning bush, from plagues to parting seas, Moses' story is a wild ride of faith, courage, and leadership. And that's the incredible journey of Moses, one of the greatest stories ever told. From a Hebrew baby saved by divine providence, raised in the palace of his people's oppressor, transformed from shepherd to prophet, Moses became the liberator of an entire nation. His staff became an instrument of divine power, bringing 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt and parting the Red Sea in history's greatest escape on Mount Sinai. He received the moral foundation of civilization, the 10 Commandments that would guide humanity for millennia. He taught a slave people to become a nation time and again. He interceded when his people rebelled, destroying their idols and calling them back to faith, bearing the weight of an entire nation on his shoulders. Yet even this great leader had his moment of weakness, costing him entry to the very land he spent 40 years trying to reach. But he blessed his people one final time. Moses' influence spans Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. His laws still echo in courtrooms worldwide, inspiring every freedom movement in history. The shepherd who became a prophet, the prince who chose his people, the man who spoke with God face to face.